The rule of three, the comic triple. This is a very common joke structure. It's also very effective, and it's also very easy to write. Now, first, here's a clip of Stuart Lee employing the comic triple. In this clip, he is talking about discovering his Scottish heritage after being raised English.
As a child, I hated being English, and yet conversely, I always harboured secret cravings for shortbread, offal and heroin.
So he says, offal, shortbread and heroin. That's the comic triple, right? Listing three items is the quickest way in order to establish a pattern and then break a pattern, right? If I were to say Monday, Tuesday, you can predict the third. Whereas if I'd said Monday, Tuesday, banana, it ends surprisingly, right? And all jokes need to be surprising. And you already know this, right? All jokes need surprise, because the second time you hear a joke, it's not funny. It's self-evident that it needs surprise, because the second time you hear a joke, it's no longer surprising, it's predictable. And there needs to be something unexpected in order to surprise you, in order to make you laugh, right? So the comic triple has three moves, right? Establish the pattern, reinforce the pattern, and then subvert the pattern. Establish, reinforce, surprise. Now, this first joke I'm going to read out is by Lily Tomlin. If a peanut oil comes from peanuts and olive oil comes from olives, then where does baby oil come from? So, as you listen to the joke, you become primed. Your expectations become primed, and then you can use that to exploit it for comedic effect. Now, many of these jokes, the three moves are something normal, and then something funny. As in this Wendy Liebman joke, I just got my first bikini. It's a three-piece, a top, a bottom, and a blindfold for you. And here's a clip of Chris Rock.
Women need food, water, and compliments. That's right. That's right. And an occasional pair of shoes.
Now, there's many different ways to structure the three items. Sometimes it's a brief thing, and then something extravagantly long. But oftentimes it's something sensible, and then something nonsensical, as in these three Simpsons clips.
A vampire! These vampires are make-believe, just like elves, gremlins, and Eskimos.
I'm sorry, Homer. No weapons.
A gun is not a weapon, Marge. It's a tool, like a butcher knife or a harpoon or an alligator.
What are your hobbies?
My hobbies include
being quiet during trips, clapping with songs, and diabetes.
Sounds like fun!
Now, you can combine the rule of three with any other kind of joke mechanism you want, right? So the third item can be any joke. Rah-dee-rah-dee-da. So here is the Simpsons using contradiction.
My Homer is not a communist. He may be a liar, a pig, an idiot, a communist, but he is not a porn star.
And this next one is from John Stewart. I celebrated Thanksgiving in an old-fashioned way. I invited everyone in my neighborhood to my house. We had an enormous feast, and then I killed them and took their land. So that was like a dark truth. Something festive, something happy, and then something harrowingly dark. And this next one is a pullback and reveal by Laura Keitlinger. I can't think of anything worse after a night of drinking than waking up next to someone and not being able to remember their name, how you met, or why they're dead. The rule of three can also be embedded inside of stories, right? Many street jokes are like this, which is why there's always three stock characters. Oftentimes there's, three blokes walk into a pub. Each of the three are from different nationalities. The first does something sensible, the second does something sensible, and the third does something stupid and stereotypical to their nationality and brings shame to their entire country. Right? That's kind of how the structure goes. And you can embed this in your own stories, right? All you need to do is preface the funny thing with two similar events, but different, to contrast it, right? So your mum could say something nice, your sister could say something polite, and then your father says something horrifically racist. The first two establish the pattern, some kind of expectation is set, and that strengthens the hilarity of the final example. So a different perspective is that the repetition of three adds emphasis or credibility. A journalist will include three examples in order to validate a trend. right? So if something happens once, it's an accident. Twice, it's a coincidence. But thrice, if it happens thrice, then it's a global phenomenon, right? In literature, this is known as a tricolon. You repeat something 3 times in order to add emphasis. It's just kind of it's a rhetorical device in order to add dramatic emphasis, right? It's a speech heightener. It adds emphasis, gravitas, and a feeling of magnificence, right? This is why you say things like, the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, truth, justice, and the American way. All of these examples could have been condensed into a single word. You could have said the truth, God, not sure, I've already forgotten. And here's a clip of Chris Rock, because Chris Rock is a master of the repetition of emphasis, so here's a clip of him doing that.
Everybody take daddy for granted. Just listen to the radio. Everything's mama. Dear mama. I always love my mama. Mama, mama, mama. What's the daddy song? Papa was a rolling stone.
So Chris Rock builds emphasis, and he uses that to contrast the disparity of the juxtaposition between stereotypes of mothers and stereotypes of fathers, and how the irony between them, or the hypocrisy between them. And then once you can build emphasis, once you can build heightened emotion, then you can use bathos, which is the anticlimax, right? You build dramatically towards something grand, but instead you lead to I came, I saw, I went to the toilet, you know. So here's a clip of Stuart Lee doing it much better than I ever will be able to.
Today's young people are exposed to pornographic imagery everywhere, in advertising, in fashion, in music, and above all, in pornography. Where it is extremely prevalent.
So in that clip, he lists 4 things, not 3, because he's a dangerous maverick who plays by his own rules. But more importantly, he's talking about something very serious, and he lists 3 examples to help add credibility and emphasis on the seriousness of the subject. And then on the 4th one, bathos, right? It's an anti-joke. Pornography is extremely prevalent in pornography. It's a very good punchline. And the final clip is going to be of Dylan Moran. He's talking about Australia. It's a whole routine, and the final joke is the biggest laugh, and it's also a rule of 3 joke, a comic triple. Now, if you've enjoyed this video and you want to see more, feel free to follow me on Facebook, follow me on Twitter, or follow me on foot. I'm leading a pilgrimage to my hometown of Bethlehem, and we leave at 4:15.
I usually never leave the house, but we all went to Australia recently. The whole family. It was a ridiculous place, located 3/4 of a mile from the surface of the sun. People audibly crackling as they walk past you on the street. That's why they all barbecue. You don't need to cook somewhere like that. You just bring the shit out, fling it on a grill, and it bursts into flames. It's not supposed to be inhabited, and when they're not doing that, frying themselves outside, they all fling themselves into the sea, which is inhabited almost exclusively by things designed to kill you. Sharks, jellyfish, swimming knives, they're all in there. And they